I want to welcome you to Blind Squirrel Motorsports, where the current project is a 36 International. Follow along and have fun. Okay, so we had some audio issues, and I'm going to switch to an outside microphone here. What we're doing is we're using the guide for the seat cutters. We'll put that in place, and then we'll get our cutting head, and we'll start with a 45 first, just to clean up the seat. Now, these cutters are adjustable. You loosen some Allen heads within the cutting head itself, and then they slide in or out, which also makes them replaceable. So you don't have to buy a complete new head like you do with a grinding stone when you wear it out.
That close to something where we have this much area that we can work with. So we're going to get an Allen head wrench and we're going to open these up, we're going to slide these all back and put them in position, and then we'll be back. Okay, so to adjust these, we'll just put our...
After we make the adjustments, we'll be able to
just a little bit. We're not going to go real
cut that seat.
Intakes without having to make a double adjustment here. If we do, it's not that big of a deal, but a little bit of a time saver. Sure that we're not hitting anywhere.
As I said, normally we use this T-handle, but the T-handle is actually for my smaller cutting heads that we use when we're building junior dragster flathead Briggs & Stratton motors. So I'll have to use a ratchet wrench here to make our cuts. Just make a cleanup cut so it's concentric all the way around. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. We just want to cut that seat so we can get a start on where it's at, because we'll want to be able to either lower or raise that seat to wherever it hits the valve face. And we do that by switching cutting heads. This cutting head happens to have a 15 degree and I think either a 65 or a 70 degree cut that you can make, and then you can use this to either raise or lower the seats. If you want to raise it up a little bit, then you use the 65 or 70 degree, of course, and cut the bottom out of the seat, and then you can cut the seat deeper. I like it a lot better than the grinding stones. Of course, you don't have grinding dust flying all over the place, and They are more expensive, but I think in the long run, it actually might be cheaper. All of the valve tools that you see me use on this project all come from Goodson. With the exception of the valve guide honing brush. I believe I got that from Kimball White.
Looks like we are right here, so we made just a little bit too much of an adjustment. Yeah, just a little bit too much. Let's back that off.
Here we're just making adjustments to the cutters. Make sure that it doesn't cut into the block itself when we need to cut the seats. We also want to make sure that it's not too shallow, that it's only cutting half of the seat and leaving a ridge in it. That wouldn't do us any good either. Most of these seats looked really good. Couple of the exhaust seats had some fairly decent pitting in it. Took a little bit more to clean them up, but they all came out real nice. None of them need to be replaced. Fortunately, even as old as this motor is, they used hardened seats in it, so I didn't have to have the machine shop put in hardened seats for this particular project. Here we're just checking the width of the seat. Don't remember what the book said. I want to say 7/32, but I'd have to go back and check my notes. Here we're just kind of turning the head a little bit to see where it's going to strike in the middle of that valve face.
Almost dead center. Nice. Nice. Looks like we could raise the seat just a touch if we wanted to.
And it's just a preliminary check. We'll actually be doing some more refined checking later. Here's where you can hear that ring when a valve is actually hitting in the block properly.
That one's just a little bit off center. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way through, clean them up, and once we're done cleaning them all up,
I'm sure I'm saying something important here, but I absolutely don't remember what it was.
A little bit wider, or lower the seat a little bit if we have to. We can do that by using the top cutter for that, and that one's at a 15, I think is what we're using. Yep, we're using a 15. We can lower the seat a little bit.
Probably talking about how to
To raise it
raise
up
and
a little
lower
bit. Or just
the
cut it
seat
with the
itself.
60 and then cut it a little bit deeper with the 45 and make that happen. So we'll get through all of these, and yeah, we'll be ready to
There's
install
some
some
cutters that
pistons
are
for this.
available out there, of course, with all three angles built into it. You
Alright,
don't
so
have to
we've
have
finished
different heads
refitting
for it,
all of
but
the valves so that they do exactly what we want them to do. We've cleaned it all up. We've
alright,
primarily
so we
cut all the
had
seats so that they're just
preliminarily
lined up.
cleaned up all of the seats.
And what we'll do now is we'll do
We'd
all
gone
of
through
the
and marked
sharpening.
all of them,
I've already done that
except for the
through
last
most
ones
of the
down here at
valves,
the
so it's
end,
all set down
just
there.
so I can show you what we're doing.
And we'll make
We're just
a
going to
few
take a
marks on the
Sharpie and
seats.
mark it in three places on the seat and three places on the on the valve.
And 3 marks on the valve.
And then we'll rotate them around. Not doing any valve grinding right now. We're not trying to grind them into the to the seats themselves. We just want to see where it hits, and we'll make notes on the tape.
On each one.
You want to bring the face down a little bit or raise the seat up.
To see where we're at on the seats for final fit.
And we'll check what parts are worn away on the valve.
Of the valve.
And if we like it, it'll go back in the hole.
That seat there happens to be just a little bit wide, so we'll go back and we'll cut that probably from the top and thin it out just a little bit. So we'll make a note.
And if not, we'll just make some notes right here.
On that. I know that we need to work on the top of that one.
And move on to the next one.
This one is absolutely not going to be touched. It is right where it needs to be. That one will be lapped in. Nothing more. So no notes on that one.
And we'll do those all on down the line until we get to the end. Alright, so it looks like our audio is going to come back, so we'll drop this and head back to the original.
We're starting to assemble the valve train, and one of the things that I wanted to take note of, since you can't find it in any of the instruction manuals or anything like that, is you need to take special note of your valve springs. Let's see if I can get this in here. Where is it here? Here it is. If you'll notice, there are 9 coils on this. The standard is that I could find is a max pressure of 48 pounds compressed, but it doesn't say to what compression level. Mine all check out at a 1/2 inch compression level. They all come in between 54 pounds and 56 pounds. So I'm also using the overall height, which is just a little over 2.5 inches. The other key note to note on these is if you'll look at the coils, it's supposed to be a 9-coil spring, but you'll notice at one end that the coils are closer together than they are at the other. The closer end of the coils go towards the block. The opened end of the coils go to the keeper, to the valve stem end. So watch this when you're doing this. So real quick, we're just going to slide the springs in here real quick, and then we're going to have to get the keepers together and get the valve spring compressor and get this turned up the other direction. Right now we've got it turned on the side so that the valves won't fall out. And we'll go ahead and take loose the tape that holds the valves in place. And then we'll slide each valve out so that we can put in our spring and then put the valve back in place. Remember, the coils close together at this end. So we'll go ahead and do that on this one too. And on with the next one, goes the same way. All right, so we got all the springs in place. We're going to go ahead and put our tape back together. We'll get our block turned upside down. We'll get set up to start dealing with putting in the keepers. So we'll be right back.